Hello, and thank you for joining us today in our studies of 2 Samuel. Today we're in 2 Samuel chapter 13. And as we come into chapter 13, we're going to start to see the fruition of the punishment that God placed upon David in chapter 12 coming into place. We don't know how long it has been since the actions of chapters 11 and 12 before we get to chapter 13. That part of the timeline isn't laid out in specifics. But in chapter 13, you're going to see what happens with David's family and how David's family begins to deteriorate. The promise in chapter 12 is that there will be continuous problems in the house of David, and that David's children are going to have many different issues, both with each other and with him. And in chapter 13, we see that start to take place. And it's not going to be just in one event, it's going to stretch out in this lengthy episode that you see in this chapter. What I'd like us to do in breaking down the lessons is to look at the three major individuals discussed in this chapter and to look at what it is that they did and to see some of the things that we need to learn and to analyze from them. We're going to begin today with Amnon's actions. Amnon is the oldest son of David, and he is going to be the half-brother of Absalom and Tamar. If you look at the lineages of the sons of David, it would seem that Absalom is the third son of David, and Amnon is the oldest. Amnon is going to lust after his sister Tamar, but he's also going to have an enabler, someone who is going to encourage him in these efforts, someone who's even going to help him figure out how to accomplish his goals, and that's going to be Jonadab. When you look at Amnon's actions are reprehensible. There is absolutely nothing that is positive or that is noble about anything that Amnon does. And we realize very quickly in this passage that Amnon is only desirous of Tamar for as long as she is forbidden, as far as that goes, or until he has had what it is that his heart desires. And then after he has taken advantage of her and after he has shamed her, then he hates her even more than it is stated that he loved her. And so truly all it was a lust. And once that lust was satisfied, he had absolutely no feelings for this young woman whatsoever. Amnon does absolutely everything wrong that you could do. And it's difficult to even think about what it is that he did to his own sister. But as wrong as that was, it leads into actions that are going to be equally frustrating and equally wrong in many different ways from others that are discussed. Because when you continue on and you begin to look at David's actions when it comes to all of this, you see the father who is the father of both of these people. And again, we don't know exactly how old they are. We don't know exactly where everything falls. There are no ages necessarily that are given, other than the fact that by all indications, all three of these are adults at this point. But David is going to be extremely angry at Amnon. But he's not going to do anything. Amnon should have been, according to the law, he should have been punished very severely, if not lost his life, for the things that took place. And yet, while David is angry, Amnon, or David does absolutely nothing to Amnon. David's response is one of emotion, but not of action. Now, David is often in his life going to take action against those who have wronged him, or against those who have gone against his kingdom, and those who have gone against God, and so on and so forth. But when it comes to his own family, David acts very differently. David is not willing to take the same actions and the same righteous responses toward his children that he is toward everybody else. And it is going to be one of the thorns in the side of David for the rest of his life. The fact that he will not discipline within his own family. He will not hold his family to the same standards that he holds everybody else to. And we see this most especially here in chapter 13. And it's going to lead to more strife and more issues because Tamar's brother Absalom is going to see not just the evil that Amnon did, but also he is going to see the lack of judgment that David brought. The fact that David did not stand up for Tamar. The fact that David did not bring about justice for Amnon's actions. The fact that David basically swept everything under the rug and pretended that it never happened after he got over his initial anger. And so Absalom is then going to take the bull by the horns, and he is going to get revenge for his sister. Now, there is no indication that Tamar has anything to do with the planning or the enacting of any of these things that take place. But Absalom is so angry, and rightfully so. I think we would all be given any kind of a similar situation. He is so angry and so filled with hate toward what Amnon did that he can't even stand being in the same room with him. And this is going to stew for a couple of years until Absalom is going to take his revenge. And he is going to have his servants kill Amnon when he gets him away from David, away from the palace, and out into an area where he is in control. You see, all three of these men exhibited wrong actions. Now, they did them for very different reasons. Amnon did it out of lust and selfishness. David did it out of the love for his children and his unwillingness to have an equal level or an equal measure of response to his family as he does to everybody else. And Absalom did it out of revenge. But all three were wrong in what they did. All three did things that caused others to react in ways that were wrong. Now, that doesn't mean that they are held accountable for the bad actions of somebody else. But at the same time, it does mean that we need to learn that our actions do have consequences when it comes to others. And we've talked about this in chapters 11 and 12 with David and the son that is going to come from the relationship with he and Bathsheba. But we see it again here in a very different way. One man's sin and his heinous crime against his own sister is going to have this slippery slope, and it's not going to end here in chapter 13. As a matter of fact, Absalom is never going to forgive David for what he didn't do in protecting Tamar and what he didn't do in judging Amnon. And it's going to lead to ever more frustrating and ever escalating interactions between David and Absalom. So these are some of the things that I noticed in 2 Samuel chapter 13. I hope that they're beneficial to you. Next time we will be coming back and examining 2 Samuel 14. But until then, have a great day.